Turning now to politics, where unprecedented extremist politics is at play. Joining us to discuss is Caroline Heldman, professor of critical theory and social justice at Occidental College. Good morning, Caroline. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday, Giselle.
So the big news, as you know, Kevin McCarthy bypassing a vote, announcing his impeachment inquiry into President Biden without yet any evidence. Your take?
Well, he is very obviously trying to keep his job. He also doesn't want a government shutdown, so he is capitulating to the most extreme wing of his party by announcing this investigation. But I think it's important to note he's not actually calling for a vote. He's calling for an investigation because he simply doesn't have enough votes. There are too many moderate Republicans who do not want an impeachment inquiry. So he's got his work cut out for him in this next month.
You know, Caroline, talk to me about the irony here. Trump's first impeachment of his own was the result of trying to pressure Zelensky to announce a Biden investigation without evidence in that either. It was the headline he wanted, and that, as you know, led to his impeachment. Did McCarthy give Trump what Zelensky would not?
Well, that's certainly playing out, isn't it? And we know that Trump has been talking to Marjorie Taylor Greene and other extreme members of the Republican Party who are really pushing for this impeachment in Congress. And you recall that phone call with Zelensky. It was to get him to open a fake investigation into Joe Biden. And it does appear that that's what we have. And I say that because 9 months of investigation so far, and they haven't found anything.
So President Biden obviously is calling the impeachment inquiry a weaponization of government at its worst. Democrats say it's shameful abuse of power. And as you noted, even some Senate Republicans aren't on board either. So talk to me about the split in the party and what does McCarthy have to do?
Well, let's just say this is not going anywhere in the Senate, so this is all political theater. McCarthy is likely making a deal with the most extreme members of his party to advance this impeachment proceeding. At the end of the day, I don't think the American public will be paying close enough attention to not view this as similar to what's happening with Donald Trump. But the big difference is for indictments, jury of your peers, that's what's happening with Trump. Partisan political theater in Congress, that's what's happening with Biden.
So, look, Speaker McCarthy was under extreme pressure. He did what MAGA right wanted him to do, but they're still saying they're going to hold up the spending bill, hold it hostage, unless this inquiry, was launched in the first place. But that's not all they're asking. They're demanding cuts to aid in Ukraine, cuts to the Biden agenda, all charges against Trump be dropped. And it doesn't seem to have appeased Matt Gaetz, who's still calling for McCarthy's ousting with that one-vote rule. Do you think McCarthy is safe? And if not, who replaces him? Who has the votes?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I don't know of anyone who would want McCarthy's job. Lots of people could fill it, but who would want this job? Remember, 15 votes in order to get him in place. It's possible that the most extreme members of his party will make a political statement and remove McCarthy, but then it sends their party into disarray. And as you're noting, Giselle, this has really been a struggle for the soul of the party since Trumpism really took it over in 2015, 2016, and that's playing out in Congress now. The question is whether or not McCarthy becomes, fodder in this fight.
Does this backfire on the GOP?
I don't think so. I think at the end of the day, a lot of folks don't really pay attention to speakerships and internal party fighting. I don't think it affects the election. I don't think it affects the Republican Party in terms of politics and winning elections.
All right. Speaking of the grand old party, as it once was, Senator Mitt Romney announcing he will not seek another term in the Senate and took the time to urge both President Biden and Donald Trump to also step aside for a new generation. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Oh, I think it'd be a great thing if both President Biden and former President Trump were to stand aside and let their respective party pick someone in the next generation.
So this is the end of an era for the grand old party, as it once was, with his departure. But what do you make of his call for the two top candidates to step down as well?
I think he showed incredible grace and class, and I was surprised to learn that Romney is 76.
Wow.
This is quite a move. We don't see this in American politics very often, where folks will step aside. I don't think it will actually cause Donald Trump or Joe Biden to do the same. It would be unprecedented to have such a popular frontrunner candidate to step aside. In the case of Trump and Biden, obviously, we've never seen a president simply step aside. But if they did, Gavin Newsom's waiting in the wings. Gretchen Whitmer, I would say, Pete Buttigieg, and don't count out Kamala Harris.
Yeah, but, Romney is not the only one, Caroline, calling for this. Close Biden ally David Ignatius also imploring the president not to run again for the sake of his legacy, the sake of the country, saying nor he nor his vice president have high approval ratings, to say the least. So, again, I'll ask you, do you see in any universe of reality this possibly happening, that Biden would step down for a younger candidate?
I don't imagine he would do that. I just don't think power gives power up. With that said, when you have folks in politics who are this old, we've seen it with Feinstein and McConnell, health issues can get in the way. So there is a possibility between now and next year that something could happen to some of these older candidates, Donald Trump, Joe Biden. But short of that, I just don't see them stepping aside.
Right. I do want to ask you before I let you go. Another federal judge put Dreamers at risk, declaring DACA illegal. And now the case is once again expected to be appealed to the Supreme Court. Put into context how big a blow this is for Biden and what it might do to the Hispanic vote in 2024.
580,000 active DACA recipients, Dreamers, who get assistance with jobs and education and obviously protections otherwise. This puts their lives into limbo. This was enacted through an executive order under Obama in 2012, and Trump tried to get rid of it, and obviously Biden trying to restore it, and the courts are not supporting that. It really does require congressional action, but Congress will not act. It means that this is a big blow for Biden and could affect the Latino vote in the next election.
Wish we had hours to keep on because the headlines are endless, as you know, but that will be enough for this Thursday. Caroline Heldman, professor of critical theory and social justice at Occidental College. As always, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Giselle.